So in today's video, we're going to talk about staining a full contour zirconia restoration to match the shade guide. Now ideally what we'd like to do is, prior to sintering the restoration using our shading liquids, we'd like to get as close to the desired shade as possible that it doesn't require any significant surface stain. But what happens when we have a restoration like this one, where we're at least 1 to 2 shades off and we have to actually add surface stain in order to achieve the desired shade? That's going to be the exercise that we're going to cover in today's video. So the goal of today's lesson is to take this A2 shaded restoration and move it to match an A35 shade guide. So in order to do that, we're going to be using the InSync stain and glaze system. We're going to use the A stains to accomplish the basic body color of the A35. We've got a blue that we're going to be using in the incisal area, and we've got a black that we're going to be using to lower the value of the blue color. So we've got also some shading liquid here, some glaze liquid. We'll put that in. We use that for a medium for thinning the stains where appropriate and for mixing when we need that. And we'll take our blue stain, and what we want to do is lower the value of this to be more in the appropriate shade range of an A35 or an A4, which has a much lower value, grayer incisal appearance than we would see in a lighter shade like an A1 or an A2. So we're going to mix a little bit of black into the blue, mix it thoroughly, and you can see we've lowered the value, and we'll take some blue stain out and compare that, and you can see the change in color, more appropriately the change in the value. So we'll begin by surface staining the cervical area to move this restoration body color from A2 to A35. And in order to accomplish this, we're going to generally have to do it in 2 coats. Putting it on and trying to accomplish it in 1 coat, you'll end up with a blotchy, puddling and kind of streaky surface. So much better to build up the color 1 or 2 layers at a time until you achieve the desired color. Bring the value of the incisal area down using the bluish gray color. So once I've got the value approximately where I think I need it, I'll just splash a little bit of the body color in there as well. And we'll work circumferentially around the crown. We'll fire this and then come back and look at it and check it to the shade guide, and if necessary add another layer of color to it. Now we're going to use the glaze material, and once again we want to make sure we thoroughly mix the glaze paste. We don't want to have it any standing liquid. We want to make sure that any liquid and paste material is thoroughly incorporated until we have the optimal consistency. Using a small brush, I'm going to take the glaze material directly from the jar, and then working from the incisal edge of the crown, we're going to move the glaze material from the incisal down to the margin area in nice smooth strokes. We're not going to apply the material in too thick of a fashion. I like to put it on fairly thin, and we're going to go circumferentially around the crown and adding glaze to everything except the occlusal surface. So when you look at this glaze up close, because it doesn't flow, which is an ideal characteristic, you're going to see that it goes on in a little bit streaky, but we're going to take care of that here shortly. So you see the streakiness of it in an up-close picture. Little difficult to tell whether or not you've completely covered the entire surface, but by taking a serrated instrument and lightly vibrating the restoration, the material instantly flows. And now you look at it up close, and you're going to see that the material is nice and smooth, and you can easily see any area that you may have missed, and then go ahead and cover that. So once you've vibrated it and the surface is now nice and smooth, we're going to glaze the occlusal surface, and I start in the pits and fissures and sectional grooves and work towards the cuss tips, making sure that we cover the entire surface. And once the entire surface is covered, we will not vibrate the crown again. So we don't want the material to flow into the pits and fissures and accumulate there and gain any thickness. So making sure we work towards all the cuss tips until completely done. So we fire the glaze material, and just as a reference point, this is where we started with a restoration that was a really good match for A2 with a desired outcome of A3-5, and this is where our final restoration ended up. A pretty good match for the A3-5 shade tab in color and in value.